The Dart Zone / Adventure Force line has had a lot of good stuff coming out, and honestly, the Magnum Super Drum is pretty much looking like it's going to be the best blaster of 2016 for me, but that doesn't mean I've covered the entire line yet. Now, there is the Power Belt, which is a pump action only, no trigger, slamfire belt-fed blaster, which may be good? I don't know, I haven't really picked one out yet. And then the Dart Zone Scorpion, which I've already done a mod on. It's actually one of my more popular videos, where I integrated a magazine well from a Raider into the side of it and made it a magazine-fed blaster, which is really cool because they're full auto, they hit like a truck, including some shots hitting up to 100 FPS, and now it's magazine-fed, so I don't have to deal with the 20-round belt, which 20 rounds isn't really enough for a belt. I know the Vulcan came with 25, but it was really easy to splice new ones together. And then again with the Power Belt, kind of same thing, it was a 20-round belt. Now we've got the Enforcer, and the reason why I have this blaster is that it was sent to me from Dart Zone themselves. And again, this is the Adventure Force Enforcer, but it's still pretty much Dart Zone. And this can be considered the bigger brother of the Scorpion. The Scorpion from Dart Zone is a $20 blaster, full auto with a very lethargic firing rate that can be fixed with some simple mods, but again, stock 100 FPS. Kinda hard to beat that. In fact, I've never bothered to modify mine. And on top of all that, if you kind of reduce the barrel a little bit, it is a tiny blaster, and I happen to like it quite a bit. That's one of the reasons why I modded to begin with. This is a little bit bigger, not a whole lot bigger, but just a little bit. And this one retails at about $29.95, and I've already seen this one on sale at Walmart for a good $17.99. So that's a lot to get for, you know, I mean, not much to pay for what you get here, because this thing is a full auto 40 dart belt fed monstrosity. And I say monstrosity, but that's not entirely fair, because when you look at it from this angle, it's not all that big, especially when you realize that this entire barrel right here is pretty much pointless. When you look at it this way, that's when things get a little bit of a, you know, a little bit out of hand. The Enforcer is a pretty cool blaster, though. Where do I start with this one? Well, it's kind of an awkward beast to put together. Out of the box, all these parts right here are completely separate and have to be snapped in, with the only one being effortlessly removable being this bottom part right here, which has a switch that lets you remove it if you so choose. And this part down here also kind of telescopes in and out, and that is kind of there to help you put tension on this belt, which is kind of important for the belt mechanism to work. And then, of course, rollers up here. And this is just soft plastic right here, but yeah, these two sides roll, and that's kind of how you put the belt in, and then it's got your kind of typical belt release mechanism right here, and if you were to pop that in, you can, in fact, take that entire belt off, and let me tell you, it's kind of a pain to put another one on. I haven't really found a good way of doing it quite yet. Just get it all right there. There we go, we're good to go, ready to fire, and unfortunately, because these huge wings right here, there's really no good way to hold it like this. You're pretty much going to want to hold it like this. And the overall blaster itself, this grip back here being ridiculously comfortable, and it's powered by 6 AA batteries. This big, huge orange thing right here doesn't do anything, and that was kind of annoying, because I thought this might be a rev trigger, and this might be a firing trigger or reverse, but no, it is just like the Scorpion, and that's why I say it's the bigger brother of the Scorpion. You flip that, and it starts revving up. Now, the Enforcer is a bit better than its brother, because it does, in fact, fire pretty decently. I would say that firing rate, wherever that dart just went, I would say that's completely acceptable, and when you pair that with a 40-round capacity in this belt, that's usable. This is a completely usable stock blaster, I would say. And running it through the chronograph, I got shots anywhere from the lower 80s down to the high 60s. The FPS does seem to drop when you're using the full auto, and this thing isn't very easy to single shot with, so the first shot always seemed very powerful, and the follow-up shots were relatively slower. That could be because of the batteries in here. One pack was brand new, one pack wasn't so much, and unfortunately, I just have really anything else to put in there, and some kind of piece of plastic or something just fell out. Maybe it was a screw. That was different. Something always seems to happen when recording these videos like this. But again, $29.95, this is a pretty good blaster. Now, this is the most expensive one from the Dart Zone or Adventure Force line I have seen so far, and it does offer you quite a bit, because when you put in perspective, like, what was it? The Lawbringer was $32 when that first came out, and I don't know, would you rather have your hammer action rifle that hit like half the range of this thing stock, or this thing? And that's kind of an ongoing thing with Dart Zone. Their blasters, most of them, except for maybe the Blitzfires, are really good and priced so ridiculously cheap, and I have yet to get one that is a complete lemon. In fact, I think my Legend Fire is a lemon in a cool way, because a lot of people seem to have troubles flipping out the cylinders, and I seem to do it effortlessly. I am having quite a lot of fun with this, but if you look at this from like what would you use this in a war for? With the high capacity and the slow-ish firing rate, this is an excellent support gunner weapon, and I don't think anybody would disagree with that. This is something that one person in your squad could use, and even if you're in HVZ or you're in some kind of orchestrated game mode, it would be very easy for them to kind of put this up and just kind of keep enemies at bay. The box itself says that it fires 40 darts in under 30 seconds, so if you can consider it for a second, carrying one of these on you, whatever way you choose to do it, even if you want to just hang it from your belt off you, I mean, it would work really effortlessly hanging it from this handle up there. I mean, it's still awkward, but if you're in the middle of a field, it doesn't matter. And just pull this up, you've got 30 seconds of continuous firing to keep people from getting anywhere close to you, and that would let people reload, put darts in mags, all sorts of things. So it's a very good support blaster for that reason. But there are ways it could have been done a little bit better. One of the major issues I've had with this thing is that, well, I don't know why it's kind of done like this, but the belt itself, the ends are kind of slightly closed off just a little bit, and they don't really seem to slide in like telescope out all that much when you put a dart in there. They seem to be just a tube. One end is open, one end is slightly closed, so when you put a dart in, it doesn't fall all the way through. And maybe that could have been a little bit better to allow some kind of reverse loading, because it would be really easy to reverse load these things if you wanted to, although I wouldn't want to do that to every single chain here. And speaking of which, if you do want to get extra chains, unlike a lot of other blasters, you can very easily get an extra chain for this blaster if you go to the Primetime Toys website. So it is possible to run this thing with several chains, and you get 40 darts to fill this thing up too, you know, right out of the box. So again, if you need something like this in a war, if you've needed something like the Vulcan, well, this is a good modern alternative to that. Good capacity, good fire rate, good distance, not incredible like the Scorpion, but it has its moments. But again, with the whole like topping up in the back of the chain, another issue I have is that it's really hard to top these up when you're in the middle of a fight. If I really needed to, you know, I'm sitting here firing this thing, let's say I have it pointed at someone, but I want to load it, I can kind of slide a dart in here, but it's pretty difficult to do so because these arms are just in the way, and I kind of wish they had cutouts on them that would somewhat mesh with where the darts would be. I mean, it's a really simple mod to do. I just take a Dremel and, you know, go like that where the chain rests, but I kind of wish it had that from the start, because that would be a very good feature with this blaster, because then you could turn it into something like, not only do I have a large capacity, but I could sit here and reload it. And let's say I have a friend or something, they can also reload it. I mean, this thing's big enough to have another person over here popping darts in on both sides, and this thing could just keep firing forever. And since it's flywheel, it's not going to be too picky with the dart quality. And on top of that, I mean, these things don't really grab the darts all so well, which is kind of an issue because I've had this thing jam about twice on me. I've ran about 4 chains through it now. This is about the 5th time I've tried to record this video, and it's jammed on me twice, but I think that has something to do with me, you know, monkeying around with this thing. If it had a rev trigger, that would also be good, but this switch right here on the side, if you're holding the blaster up, you just have to kind of pivot your hand. Works good for right-handed people. I don't know how well that would work for left-handed people, maybe even easier, because you can just flip it with your index finger right there, and I have kind of small hands, so it should work for just about anybody, unless you're a small child, which most of the time you think these things would be made for. In fact, the Scorpion was very cramped, very hard to hold. This is much more comfortable. Do kind of wish they did more with it, but at the same time, it's really hard for me to complain because the price point is so freaking low. Now keep in mind, I didn't have to pay anything for this blaster right here. And I honestly wasn't really looking to pick it up all that much because 30 bucks is quite a bit for me to spend on a product unless I, think I can get that back somehow. And I'm very thankful to Dark Zone for sending this off to me, or Adventure Force in this case. But my opinions are still my own, and I still think this is a pretty good blaster. So if you, for some reason, wanted something like this, if this fits into your role but you haven't picked one up, you might want to look at it because it's going to be way better than your Vulcan in pretty much every way right off the bat. And with some slight modifications, I mean, overvolting it. So you got 6 AA's in here, you could probably do something crazy. That would give you a boost in power. In fact, this thing might be capable of hitting some really good ranges with just IMRs. I know the Dark Zone Scorpion can do even better with just a couple of IMRs, so this being pretty much the same thing without the spinning barrel, which, while looking cool, just took away, power from your main system here, well, that's pretty awesome. I have to hand it to them. They've put out some good blasters, and I'm really curious to see what they put out next year. Hopefully we see some new stuff, because I'm honestly blown away. If I needed to go to a war right now, let's say I didn't have crazy stuff like the Paradigm Shift or whatever else monstrosities I have built, I could head to Walmart with, let's say I wanted to go all out, I could go there with $100. If you want to compare $100 of Nerf to $100 of Dark Zone and put it into a competitive scenario, I'm sorry, but I think Dark Zone's gonna win every single time. It's utter madness, and I love every second of it. I really have to thank Dark Zone for kind of making this year a heck of a lot better, because Boomco's been kind of absent, and maybe if they manage to push out the Double Rush, and maybe if it works in the way I think it will, that might take over, the Super Drum for being my favorite blaster of the year. But so far, Magnum Super Drum, that thing is just amazing. I know basically every other Nerfer out there is saying it's the main thing for HVZ now. You don't really want to use screw stripes when you can have a Magnum Super Drum. It's really cool, and I like where this is headed, and they've done good work, and I hope to see more from them. I'm Walcom S7, thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked the content, and if you have anything to add, go ahead and hit the like button and, ask a question or tell me where I went wrong down in the comment boxes below. And of course, if I just went completely wrong and I'm unsavable, there is of course a dislike button for you as well. You, like the one person. Who am I kidding? Lots of people dislike videos for whatever reason. Have you seen my Halo review? Holy crap, that thing has like 3,000 dislikes. I love it. It's hilarious to me. Thank you so much for watching this video, and of course I hope to see you in an entirely different one. And this time it should be entirely different.